They always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. This is the Real Sports Talk. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a depressing year as an Eagles fan, and today has been another depressing day after another loss last night, 30-22 on Monday Night Football at the hands of the previously 2-8 Carolina Panthers. The Eagles now have not won a game since. I just can't even believe they haven't won a game since September. And it's going to be December in a couple days here, and they haven't won a game. They started 3-1. I thought, at the very least, they're going to go 9-7, 10-6. They're going to be in the playoffs at that point. And everyone was talking about McCoy's fumbling, Vic's fumbling, and throwing interceptions. And I thought, they're going to clean that up, and the only place they can go from there is up. They're 3-1 with that. Imagine what they're going to do. Then they fired Juan Castillo as defensive coordinator, and they also brought in Todd Bowles, who was the secondary coach. They made him the defensive coordinator. That has just blown up completely in their face at this point. And then there was today. The Eagles' first, DeSean Jackson, was out for the season, and quite honestly, if DeSean Jackson never put on an Eagles uniform again, I would not be bothered one bit. I used to be a huge fan of him through the first 2 or 3 seasons of his career. And then you could begin to see the fact that he wasn't producing in big games. When he faced big corners, or real corners, he wasn't getting the job done. And in the end, he wasn't improving. And Chris Carter talked about it on Monday Night Football last night. There has been absolutely zero progression from DeSean Jackson. I don't know why they paid him. There were tons of wide receivers available last offseason. I said go get Vincent Jackson. He had a slower start in Tampa Bay. He's ended up having a very good season, though. DeSean Jackson, on the other hand, he's now out for the season with broken ribs. And, what people have asked me, is he quitting because ribs aren't usually a 6-week injury? I'm not a doctor here, but I can kind of tell you that I think if the Eagles were in contention, DeSean Jackson would not be out for the season. And even if this is a 6-week injury, I think it's pretty strange that they're deciding right now that DeSean Jackson is out for the season. Because it's an injury that could be 6 weeks, but other broken ribs I've seen players come back from after a week or two. So how can you decide this far in advance that he's out for the season? It just seems like an extremely strange move for me. And it's coming out of left field because I don't think that at this point you can tell if DeSean Jackson is going to be out for the season or not. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that, and if there's a doctor or someone listening to this, go ahead and correct me. But DeSean Jackson has not produced at the level he needs to. He has not become that elite receiver everyone here thought he was going to. He was paid to be an elite receiver last offseason, and it's time to move on now. They did move on from my boy Jason Babin. I'm going to give Jason Babin a shout out because I had him on in between when he was in Tennessee and before the offseason when they had the lockout, when he was coming to the Eagles. He was extremely friendly. He gave us a lot of props here on the show, so I want to give a lot of credit to Jason Babin. He's a great guy. He's worked extremely hard throughout his career, but I'm going to be real about Jason Babin now. He might have had 18 sacks last year, but quite honestly, Jason Babin brings absolutely nothing in terms of run defense, and he never has. And I hope that I'm not, if somehow Jason would end up hearing this, which I doubt, but if that would ever happen, then so be it. This is called the Real Sports Talk. I'm going to keep it real. Jason Babin is not very good in run defense, and outside of the wide nine, which is the defensive system that defensive line coach Jim Washburn runs, and Jason Babin has never had success to the extent that he has had in his 2 Pro Bowl seasons. He had the 1 Pro Bowl season in 2010 in Tennessee. Jim Washburn was the defensive line coach. They ran the wide 9. 2011, he had an even better season, went to the Pro Bowl. They ran the wide 9. he is likely out at the end of this season, that Jim Washburn. So this is just a move that I think it's kind of a slap in the face to Jason Babin to get rid of him now. I noticed late in that game, in the second half, that Jason Babin was not seeing nearly as many snaps. So I don't know what the deal was there. I really don't. I think that they took Vinny Curry out of Cal in the second round. They want to see something out of him. Brandon Graham was a first-round pick out of Michigan a few years ago. He's now going to get a chance to probably start. So at this point, they're packing it in for the season, and they're going to give some of the younger guys a chance to play. This likely means to me that Michael Vick will not start another game this season. I don't know what they're going to do there, because Andy Reid is, in the end, probably the one that's going to make that decision, and I believe that the Jason Babin decision was one made by the organization. Because I know Jim Washburn, from talking to Jason Babin in an interview I did with him, Jim Washburn and Jason Babin are extremely close. It was almost a foregone conclusion to me that once the Eagles brought in Jim Washburn as head coach, that Jason Babin would come here. He did. So I don't know. I think wherever Jason Babin ends up for the rest of the season, I don't know if he does end up anywhere. I don't even know what the rules are, if he's allowed to play in the playoffs. I believe he is. So another team will probably take a shot, but I would venture a guess that he probably won't have nearly the success as the hype he'll get when he comes into a place. Yes, he had 18 sacks, but he's not going to get too many other tackles that aren't sacks. And you know what? That's just keeping it real about Jason Babin. I like the guy. I love the celebration, but he didn't live up to it this season. 4.5 sacks when really all you do is sack people. That is what you're in there for. If you're only getting 4.5 sacks this year, well, then that's just not good enough. It's not good enough to almost get to the quarterback. It's not good enough when you almost get to the quarterback and then Cam Newton still has time to throw two balls right over the middle, and yeah, the secondary collapsed, but no one is there. If you're going to send those guys in the wide nines scheme every single time at the quarterback, which, my God, the wide nine is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. But if you're going to send them at the quarterback, then they need to get to the quarterback, especially when you bring extra blitzers in. Whether you blitz a corner or anyone from the secondary or linebackers, you need to get there. You need to at least get to the point where you can disrupt his throw. Jason Babin had not done that this season, and you know what? That's the bottom line. When I saw this, I drank something and I spit it out all over the room because it just caught me off guard. But the more I think about it, the more this move makes sense. And the more I realize that this is not the first guy. Jason Babin was gone in the offseason anyway. I'm just surprised that they did it this early. So Jason Babin's going to be gone. Michael Vick's going to be gone. My guess is DeSean Jackson probably won't be gone. I'd like to see it happen. I'd like to see them go with a bigger receiver and go draft a bigger receiver, but they have so many other needs at this point that doesn't seem likely. So I don't know who else is going to be gone, quite honestly, but all I can say is besides LeSean McCoy, I don't look at this roster and think anyone's untouchable. The only guy that has really stood out to me this year is DeMeco Ryans on defense. Tom Jackson was saying that he hadn't lived up to it this season. I don't know what the hell he was talking about, because DeMeco Ryans, if anyone on this team, has been a Pro Bowler this season. The Eagles finally have an impact middle linebacker, the first time since they had Jeremiah Trotter. He's the only one on defense that I look at and say, you know, we need him on this team. Nnamdi Asomugha, God, I can't stand another season with that guy. I'm so happy I didn't buy the Nnamdi Asomugha jersey. I mean, I'm just so disgusted right now with this team, and I made this video to just kind of recap this, but the more and more I'm talking about this, it just disgusts me even more that this has happened with this team. And it disgusts me the most that Andy Reid still has a job. If you're going to make the Jason Babin move now, which is a high-profile player, why not just get rid of Andy Reid? You've lost 7 games in a row. All you're doing is embarrassing the guy. All he's doing is embarrassing himself. And it makes absolutely no sense to continue on with Andy Reid at this point. And it doesn't matter who would be the intern coach. It doesn't matter, because with Andy Reid, they're getting killed anyway. So if you're really that worried about who's going to be the intern coach the rest of the season, and you're worried that they're going to get killed, well, oh wait, they lost to the 2-8 Panthers last night. They got smoked by the Redskins, who are a 500 team, 2 weeks ago. I mean, they're just not, they're not responding. And is it all Andy Reid's fault? No, it's not. But Andy Reid does have a hand in player personnel. Andy Reid is obviously not doing a very good job at his job. I mean, I'm not saying that he is a singular reason, but when teams don't do good, the coach gets blamed. And when Andy Reid hasn't corrected the flaws, they add up, and the fan base gets on him, and eventually this happens. And the media can try and twist it that, oh, it's this great coach that everyone doesn't want to see back. What the hell is wrong with Philly? You need I keep hearing them say, you need a special guy to go into Philly. No, you don't. You need someone that can do their job and help win this team a Super Bowl. Why the hell is that too much to ask? New York has one. That's why they're not doing the same exact thing. New York has Tom Coughlin. He's won them 2 Super Bowls. And yet they tried to fire the guy before the end of the regular season last year. The fans were calling for his job. But Philly's too tough? Are you kidding me? Andy Reid has seen it come and go here. He did a great job for the first 5 or 6 years, and the last 5 or 6 years here have been very irrelevant. I mean, if you really think about it, what in the last 5 or 6 years have the Eagles really accomplished? They went to one NFC championship game where they happened to get hot. Other than that, what the hell did the Eagles accomplish? They went to the playoffs 1 year with Michael Vick, and 1 other year with Donovan McNabb in his last year here where they got smashed by the Cowboys. It's time to move on, and you know what? The national media can say whatever they want about Philly, but clearly they're not watching the games if that's the perspective they're going to bring to the table. Andy Reid has racked up a lot of wins here. A lot more of that has to do with the players that he and Joe Banner and whoever's been there, Howie Roseman over the last few years, brought in. But he has done a good job as a head coach. A really good job at times. But is Andy Reid a great head coach? No, he's not. And people can look at the amount of wins and everything, but in the end, you can only examine the amount of wins so much before you have to look at how it happened and what has transpired here over the last few years. It hasn't been pretty, and it's time to move on, and I'm just so sick of the Eagles. DeSean Jackson out for the season. Jason Babin released by the Eagles. I'll see you guys later.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear. Be there by next year. Where I'm going.